Welcome to another show. In this week's episode, we're talking about when we fit new boilers, why we have to fit magnetic filters, limescale filters, and shock arresters, and what they do. So here's my friend Sean to tell you a bit more about what we do on the podcast. Thank you for listening to another Gaslec podcast, the show to help DIYers, new people into the industry, and those who are wanting to expand their knowledge. Each week we'll pick a topic and go into details. And with special guests and listeners' questions answered, we will look forward to some of the conversations. So let's get back to the show. Right, so we have it. So when we fit in new boilers, the manufacturers want us to make sure we have magnetic filters, limescale filters and shock arresters. So what are they? So magnetic filters, probably one of the most important things onto a heating system, whether it be gravity or a sealed system, so an open vented or a vented system. So all of the radiators, underfloor heating systems are exempt because they're predominantly digital plastic piping. But on metallic heating systems, we have a lot of corrosion. So you might call it sludging up or black sludge or iron oxide or whatever you want to call it. But it's those heavy particles from the corrosion process from the steel radiators that make their way through. And what they do is they hit the pump, they hit the plate-to-plate heat exchanger, they hit the diverter valve, and then finally they then start blocking up on the primary heat exchanger as well. So they're the biggest killer really for heating systems. And if you have radiators that have not been used for a while and they've been turned off, that leg off the T of the system, that can get blocked up as well. More prone on open vented systems, but we still see it all the time on sealed heating systems. So magnetic filters, no matter what sort of heating system you have, what sort of age of boiler, whether you're fitting a new one or existing, we highly recommend magnetic filters. And every time we do a service, we empty these out, and whether it's us or whoever does your service, always ask them to show you the filter, because that is a good indication on how your system is performing. So if you've got a really clean heat filter and the water smells a bit chemically, so you've got good levels of chemicals in there, we do the test for the pH levels, that gives you a good indication of how healthy your heating system is. And the healthier the heating system, the longer it will last. If you don't have a healthy heating system, as in the water quality, when you come to like a warranty repair from the manufacturer, if this hasn't been kept up to date with and kept on top of, the manufacturers, certainly on the water side of products, may not honour their warranty in their terms and conditions. So it's really, really important that we keep up to date with that. So limescale filters, what these are. So these are tiny little... basically, it's like a magnet. It's like a tube, a hollow tube. Has a little magnet all the way around the outside. Water passes through it, or the cold water passes through it. And what the idea of that is it magnetises the limescale particles to make them less sticky. So it passes, so we normally fit these quite early to the boiler. So it magnetises them, they pass through the boiler, and then it passes straight out the tap when it becomes hot water. So it's less likely to start sticking on the cold to hot water exchange of the boiler. So it prolongs the life. I don't really see much limescale myself inside boilers. It's always the black side, the iron oxide side that you see. But the manufacturer insists on them, so probably there must be some sort of scientific reason there somewhere. But yeah, they're a requirement when fitting for the boilers for the new installations. Shock arresters. So we get asked about these all the time. So most houses these days have got a water meter that's been fitted. So your water meter outside has got a non-return valve. So what that does is that if there was a low pressure issue in the street, your water from your house won't pass back and go next door, long and short. So, and what these do is it's to do with water regulations and water bylaws, etc. The problem we have is that we have now a lot of quarter-turn ceramic disc type taps in our houses. So the kitchen tap, if it's just got a little quarter-turn from fully on to fully off, we can turn the water pressure, the water flow and pressure off very, very quickly. When we had the old-fashioned spinny taps with the rubber seat, that was about 5 or 6 twists to fully on to fully off. Those taps there, we could squeeze the pressure down slowly. We never really got the issue with it. But with the modern taps, and when we turn them off, we get that bang. We'll get or water shock through. So we could be having the kitchen tap running. We could have a static pressure of, say, 3 bar of pressure. We open the tap up and that could drop to 1 bar, half a bar of pressure. And as soon as we turn that back off, the pressure shoots back up again. And it's got nowhere to go because it's stuck inside your home, in theory, from the water meter in the street into your house. So that shock of the massive pressure rise can cause pipes to bang and clang. So you may have heard that before, where you turn them off and go, and it starts making a noise. More importantly, what that does is our inside boilers, and a lot of boilers, unfortunately, still have plastic components. It puts like a judder through the boiler, and over time, it doesn't like it. And then it can start making leaks, it can start causing damage to plastic components, little rubber seals that have been in for a few years and start to dry out, that are seated in, they start getting shocked, they can start causing drips. So that's the shock arrestor. And all it really is a tiny expansion vessel. So like you'd have on your heating or your hot water systems, you'll have them built into your boiler, maybe on a sealed system, but you can have them external. They look like footballs when they're external. They're quite round. Basically, it's a tiny one of them. Some do them as like a little tube, so they look like a cigar, for want of a better sort of expression, like a little tube. And then some of them are like little tiny footballs, like a cricket ball, that sort of shape and size, or a tennis ball. And they just fit onto the cold water side, just underneath the boiler, and they still sort of stick out a little bit. You can fit them really anywhere on the system. So it's just a bag of air, really. And then when that shockwave comes up, it hits that part there, and it just all the vibrations just get absorbed. So that's what a shock arrestor is. So as I say, these are what the manufacturers are asking for when they're to be installed under the building regulations side of what we do. So so hopefully that was interesting. Any questions about any of that, then give us a shout. Thank you. So what we've been up to recently. One little thing I've found, and it's been out for years, but I've never really sort of thought about it until this week. We had to spend 340 quid to get a van windscreen repaired because a stone chip turned into a big crack, and we had to get it repaired because it's not safe. So I bought the windscreen repair kit from like Amazon, like 10 quid, and it does like 5 repairs. So now we're going to start doing our own little chips on windscreens. As soon as they appear, it's only, well, in theory, it's 2 quid a repair, and we can do it ourselves to hopefully to try and stop these big costs every year having to change windscreens, because they say it doesn't affect your insurance when you claim on your insurance for changing the windscreens, but you don't get something for nothing in this world, and we've got a fleet policy, so I can't see our policy ever getting cheaper if we start putting claims in for multiple vehicles every year for new windscreens. So that's my little top tip, actually. Amazon, it's all over Google and stuff like that. Really easy to do. It's just like a super glue material, and you put it down this little tube and wind this little bit in just to force the glue in. Obviously, all the instructions are there. But yeah, little money-saving tip, a couple of quid there. Also, we've been messing around with a pipe freezer. So we have a freezer that goes up to 28 mil or up to inch on iron pipe. And rather than draining down heating systems and hot water systems, if we can get the pipe and it's not running, we can put the clamps around the tube, put some contact paste on there, freeze it down to around about -20 in sort of about 4 to 10 minutes, all depends on the size of the pipe. Create a massive, great big sort of ice slug, and then we can then just do a bit of repair or alteration, whatever we need to do, without actually disturbing the rest of the system. So that's been great. We always make sure we carry some cold weather gloves for to operate that with. But what a massive time saver that is, and it's not very noisy. It's very quiet actually. So the first couple of times over the years of using them, you've got to make sure it's frozen properly, because if you cut that pipe and you're committed, that piece of ice will come out if it's not frozen properly, like a little tiny bullet come flying out the pipe, and then you have water everywhere, and then you've got carnage. So learned that from experience, I can tell you that for free. But yeah, what a fantastic little bit of kit, massive time saver. So there we are. So we're at the end of the podcast. So we're coming up, 10 minutes long. So I don't want these things to drag on for too long. Hopefully you got a bit of information from the podcast regarding some little parts and bits there. So any questions, give us a email at podcast@gaslec.net. If you want to appear on the show as a guest and come on and tell us about what you do and how you can help our listeners in doing what we do within plumbing and heating, energy saving, renewables, any sort of new topics really for us to talk about. Not a problem at all. Come book it in and come down the office. We'll have a cup of tea and we'll just get one recorded. Not a problem. Okay, guys, have a fantastic week. Thank you very much indeed for listening. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.